Fantasy Alarm with Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What's going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome to the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Show. It is Monday. We have 8 games on the main slate, and it is a pretty good 8-game slate here, James. You and I, we always talk. We like these 6 to 8 gamers in terms of roster construction. The player pool is not too big. It's not too small. There's a right around the value. There's enough differentiation for the rostership numbers there that, you can kind of go a little bit different and skew away from some of the chalk if you want. This slate has some big names. It has some big totals as well as quite a few game totals there, or spreads rather, that we have to pay attention to. So a pretty good way to kick off the week, man.
Yeah, happy Monday. Happy Thanksgiving week, John, here. Thanksgiving on Thursdays. As Cracker Jack in the chat, already dropping some first off, he gets in here before, sup cutie pies. Then he's doubling down on his comments about no overtime. John, what is your thoughts? He posted it in the Discord last night, and I have been mulling it over, and it's just a part of the game. Sometimes it helps us and sometimes it kills us.
It almost helped me last night, right? I had the over Clarkson points. He got off to a pretty bad shooting night. They go to double OT. He hits a 3 pretty much right away in double OT to come within 2 points of hitting the over there. Never hit another basket, unfortunately. But sometimes the OT gods give it and take it away. I've told this story to you, told it more than a few times, but I once was sitting with a live final qualifier seat locked up, Warriors versus Lakers, and game ends up going to overtime, and I end up getting chased down by those who had Kevin Durant. I ended up coming in 3rd overall that night. Still made some good cash, but I had a live final seat locked if that Warriors-Lakers game didn't go into overtime there. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who I had in my lineup, hit a 3 to tie it. Durant missed the game winner. They ended up going to overtime, and the rest was history there. So trust me, I know all about losing some big things in overtime. I think the min payout in that live final was $15,000 with a chance of $300K. So that still haunts me to this day there, Cracker Jack, the overtime. But like I said, there are plenty of people that have won some money with the overtime there as well.
Yeah, I'd have a hard time getting rid of it just because it's part of the game. It's just,
Yeah, what are you supposed to do? Stop scoring if a game goes in overtime?
Yeah, I think, yeah. But anyways, the side tangent aside, shout out to you, Cracker Jack, for the support daily. You did bring up the game totals here tonight, John. Some big road favorites tonight. Huge road favorites, in fact.
Which generally leads me to believe that not all of them are going to cover the spread.
Yeah. Denver over on BetMGM, 8.5-point road favorites. Boston, 8.5-point road favorites over Charlotte. And the Clippers, 8.5-point road favorites over the Spurs. So some big totals, some big spreads. It's very interesting. Also, Knicks, Minnesota, 214.5. John, Miami, Chicago not only opened at 210.5, it is now down to 209.5. Some places 208.5. So
yeah, not great for the pace of play in that game.
Yes, that is pace of oh boy, we saw what it looked like in this game the other night. So
yeah, Chicago 27th in pace, Miami 23rd in pace. So.
Yeah, it's pretty. I'm surprised. That's good for Miami. 23rd. That's basically being top 10 in the league for them.
Sure, pace up spot for Chicago.
Yeah. Big pace up spot.
So, guys, we appreciate all of you getting in here with us here today. If you could throw a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We are growing rapidly here, up over 5,000 new subscribers now. So, the more people we can get into this channel, more people can watch our content, the better off. More content we can do for all of you as well. Help support us here. Let's get into tonight's slate again. 8 games. Feel free to throw your questions in chat. We are more than happy to answer those for you guys. The Prince is here early. If you play on FanDuel like the Prince does, don't worry. We're showing DraftKings, but you can throw some FanDuel questions. We cover it all, so don't be shy with your questions here today. Breaking down this DraftKings main slate, though, James. We'll start off at the point guard position here. No guys over 10K. Couple of guys that should be over 10K, but they aren't. Notably, cover of our pre-show today, De'Aaron Fox at $9,300. We have LaMelo Ball that had been over $10,000, now priced down to $9,900. Steph Curry been up over 10K at 98. Dame Lillard's at 96. We talked about it on the show this morning. I really like Fox. I really like Ball. You can get to Lillard if you want. This is one game where I do worry a little bit. Now, it certainly could just be a two-man show that gets it done against Washington here tonight, but hard to go against Fox given the game total and the spread and the price that you're getting on him here.
It is definitely hard to go against De'Aaron Fox in current form. This pace is fantastic. The game environment is fantastic. De'Aaron Fox is fantastic. 31.9 points per game this year is insane, and that's coming off only 30 and 31 minutes last night. He's playing big minutes, and he should be 10K. So I'm perfectly fine getting to Fox. We had a little talk about LaMelo's price and the matchup here on the pod this morning, and I get that it's a tough spot, and Drew Holiday is a great defender and whatnot, but there's literally no reason LaMelo Ball should be at under 10K after being 10K for 4 straight slates and putting up 50 plus fantasy points in 4 straight slates. And not only that, he's put up 50 and 6 of 7 overall. What are we doing?
Yeah.
It's hard not.
And it's not even a blowout thing, as we've talked about.
No.
In blowouts, he still plays 36 minutes, whether they're winning by 22 or losing by 22. He stays out on the floor. So there's going to be times tonight where Drew Holiday is off the floor and Peyton Pritchard is on the floor and LaMelo Ball is going to be on the floor. Peyton Pritchard has no shot at stopping LaMelo Ball here this evening.
I mean, and sometimes it's we even talk about it. I'm sure Drew Holiday, we just saw it last postseason when Jimmy Butler was in God mode, right? It's that's a guy that people widely regard as one of the best perimeter defenders, if not the best perimeter defender in the league. And Drew Holiday was made Jimmy Butler's son, right? Jimmy Butler was the crap talking him, shit talking him.
We're a PG-13 show.
We're PG-13.
You're allowed to say shit.
Literally 5 minutes to go in that Milwaukee series, and when they were down by 12, and because he knew I'm gonna. So I mean, sometimes individual matchups don't even matter all that much. LaMelo, I just looked it up, just to look at the ownership here, John. Yeah. Nobody's playing him. So if you do think that this game does stay semi-competitive, or even if you don't, if you think LaMelo has the ceiling at 9,900, by all means, no problem getting to a 4% LaMelo Ball who has flashed 70 fantasy point upside in multiple occasions.
Again, I think you can play them both if you fit them in there with some of the value that potentially could open up here tonight. We talked about some notable guys that are in or out that now are potentially opening up some big value. I mean, we talked, about it this morning where if Kevin Huerter sat, we saw Chris Duarte enter the starting lineup. Huerter's still questionable here with that finger, but now all of a sudden Alvin Şengün pops up as a late add to the questionable list here. Tari Eason already ruled out. Jock Landale being min-price would be a super chalk play here on this slate. You put a guy like that now in your lineup, and you can afford 2 spend-ups here. Now, this is a slate that has Giannis against Washington in a 247 game total. It's a game that has Nikola Jokic in a spot against Detroit with really nobody defending him there. Jalen Duran, if he comes back, but not likely. Bagley, Stewart. So great spots to spend up for those 2 guys there. But if you want to go double guard here with Ball and Fox who just flashed a 70 fantasy point upside, Ball that has 60 plus 70 fantasy point upside, save some money. I mean, those guys are 3K less than Joker. You can definitely get it done here with some value.
Yeah. I got nothing really else to
add. Mid-tier guys at point guard. I wrote up Fred VanVleet tonight. I do like him in this spot. I know Golden State here, but he's settling into a pretty nice role. That was before the news of Alperen Şengün potentially not playing. If he ends up being out, I like him even more. I mean, he's getting big assist numbers here, and some of the offense runs through Şengün at times. The offense will just run through VanVleet fully if Şengün sits out here. So, and we might see a little bit more of a scoring ceiling out of him as well, attacking this Warriors backcourt.
Yeah, and this is a better matchup for the Rockets more than it is the Warriors. It's a massive pace down spot for Golden State, massive pace-up spot for Houston, and Houston's been good defensively. I know, like sometimes it doesn't matter, but they are 4th in defensive rating. Warriors are 16th. So, yeah, I think Van Vliet makes for a great play. You and I were talking about it on the pod and a little bit before lock, and I put it in Discord. The unfortunate part about Şengün being just questionable and not anything more definitive is that game is locked 2 hours after the 8 o'clock window. So like you have 7 games tipping either at 7 or 8, and then there's just this 2-hour break. And honestly, the Şengün news is the biggest news of the slate. Like that, and probably Kevin Huerter, because that obviously the Huerter news would open up a lot. We're not going to know, but you know, something I was doing anyway, I was playing Şengün was in my initial build to begin with. And it's a pretty easy thing to like pivot to Van Vliet if that's the direction you wanted to go. If you're playing a late window and you only have like if you're only playing one late game member, right? Van Vliet is a very simple pivot.
Yep, agreed. You also have today's cover is James Harden. We talked a little bit about this one now with Russell Westbrook moving to the bench. Kind of solidifies some roles now more in this offense. Harden is the point guard. 7 assists in that game, 9 rebounds, 24 points. I still think the scoring will be hit or miss with him. Again, I don't think he shoots 8 of 11 every time. That just doesn't. That's never been his profile, it seems like, anyway. So, but now that he's going to be at least running the point with George and Kawhi out there, you feel a little better about him at the price point.
He's definitely not going to go 8 of 11 on most nights, but he's also probably going to start shooting more, right? Like it's James Harden. At the end of the day, I know Kawhi Leonard and Paul George exist, but we just saw him play with Joel Embiid for years, and he's taking 20 shots a night, and he was playing with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant for a limited time, and he was taking 20 shots a night. Like he's never shied away from shooting the basketball. So like the efficiency has never been the name of James Harden's game, but volume has. So if we're gonna get volume, I don't care if he's not efficient. We get like James Harden where he's getting to the line and he's like 6 of 15, but he's 9 of 10 from the foul line with 9 rebounds, 7 assists, or he's he's still a triple double threat, obviously. And you have to, I think the rebounds are something that can be sustainable if they keep going small. Like if they keep going Terrence Mann, Norm Powell lineups over Zubats, and they don't want to play Daniel Tice.
Yeah.
Because Daniel Tice was the 4th string center for the Indiana Pacers before he signed in the Clippers. Like I could see a scenario where Harden's rebounds just continue to be there. So I love James Harden 7,800. I think the Clippers, I could see a scenario where the winning lineup tonight has 2 to 3 Clippers.
Okay.
Because the pricing is so soft. This is the first time that we've talked Clippers at all. But the pricing, I mean, Harden under 8K, playing a full capacity point guard role.
Is 81. George is
86.
Yeah.
Shooting guard, small forward, and then Norm Powell 41, shooting guard, small forward. Like they are very.
Yeah, Powell figures to be a popular play tonight.
Yeah.
Again, so I think some of that has to do with just the uncertainty around the other value plays. I think if we got Hoarder news, all the Powell ownership immediately pivots down to Duarte.
Easy.
So, which may still mean like play Norm, right? Like Duarte has been a chalky miss many times.
Yep.
Certainly fine going there. Again, on a smaller slate, there's not these huge player pools. So again, I didn't really find much, but I do, I guess, have to ask you, with no Derek White, does that make Drew Holiday more of an option for you tonight? Because you said when I told you that Derek White and Al Horford were the 2 ruled out, you're like, those are probably the 2 worst guys to be ruled out because they don't impact much.
I mean, like, they are really good basketball players that did not take away any usage from anybody on the floor.
Right.
Like, we still have Tatum, Brown, Porzingis still there in front of Drew Holiday. Like, and now what if Sam Hauser, let's say Sam Hauser starts and Sam Hauser does Sam Hauser things and comes out and hits like 4 threes in the first quarter. What is Drew Holiday doing in that quarter? He's just
passing on the ball.
He's just a fart. He's just a fart in the wind. You know, no offense to Drew Holiday. I don't want to refer to him as a fart in the wind, but I'm just saying, like, we saw last night. There's times where he's the 4th, 5th option, and that's what it is, right? So I don't know, man. I think it's too expensive. I was hoping, maybe Porzingis was out, or Jaylen Brown, who has been questionable seemingly every night, was out.
There's still no guarantee that those guys even play. I mean,
Right.
It's the NBA.
Right.
We were 2 hours away from that game locking.
That's a fair point.
90 minutes, JB could be out. We don't know. So
2 hours. 2 hours is a long time in NBA. In the NBA.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, guys, let's go to mid tier then. You've talked up Dyson Daniels a lot here. $5,900. Jordan Hawkins is there at $5,800. Any interest in the Pels? Again, this is a 1-point spread, which we think the Kings are a really good team. Does a 1-point spread feel like we were saying with the Thunder kind of disrespectful? Is it disrespectful to Sacramento just to be a 1-point favorite here in this game?
No, I think the Pelicans are a good team. They also get Jose Alvarado back tonight.
They do.
I am not expecting him to play a lot, but that would definitely take me off Daniels and Hawkins a little bit, because if one of them's playing poorly, Alvarado probably closes the game, right?
Yeah, defensively. Such a good defensive player.
Yeah, he's so good defensively. The only maybe saving grace is that Matt Ryan's going to miss 10 to 14 days, and he was just a clear rotation piece. That probably benefits Hawkins the most, because Hawkins can space the floor very well. Probably little to no interest. I largely agree with your statement, though. I think point guard outside of point guard just feels like a spend up. It's like Van Vlieten up for me, and just kind of move on. I mean, Podziemski, I saw he was in your playbook. Why don't you break that
and
down?
Caruso are both $4,600 and $4,400 of point guard, shooting guard eligibility. I wish Caruso still had the small forward eligibility. He was the rare point guard, small forward eligibility, really reserved for the Ben Simmons, Scotty Barnes, LeBron Jameses, now he's point guard, shooting guard, but I do like both of those guys as some value plays. You and I are big Caruso fans anyways. He's been in the starting lineup. And what did we talk about this morning? What I wrote in the playbook, he played 29 minutes, but again, he spent time in the locker room for one reason or other. He played 23 minutes against Orlando. Same thing. He missed some time heading to the locker room. If he could have just not had to go to the locker room for 5 minutes, he might have played 34 and 30 minutes in these games where he gave you 30 and 21 fantasy points. So I do like Caruso a lot, even though the game, everything doesn't seem great for this game in terms of total. He can still give you 25 fantasy points in the minutes here. So, and that's enough to get you the 5X.
It's very hard to predict injury, but death taxes Alex Caruso to the locker room tweet incoming.
Yeah, it's like Anthony Davis, right? He just he's going there.
Except
we
he
do
comes
have
back.
Official word here on some injuries. Jalen Duran will be out tonight. So
okay. Can't wait for more Kevin Knox.
Beef stew versus Joker and Kevin Knox starting, right?
I hate it here.
Does he have a triple double at halftime, do you think?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, dude, Detroit is but far and away. We hitched to the Detroit horse way too soon. Before they started losing every game, they've lost 12 in a row.
Okay, first, I don't think that's true because they've just been hurt. If they were just, we get them healthy again.
That's fair. Okay.
And we'll see where we're at. So
okay.
We had no illusions that they were going to be great. We just the Minnesota Twins weren't great all the time.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't.
They did go. I think they went to the playoffs. They did go to the playoffs though.
Yeah, they won a playoff series.
Yeah, they won a playoff. Yeah, they won a playoff series. It's true. All right, shooting guard here. Are you paying up for Ingram?
You can. It's not it's fine. 8,900.
Hasn't been feeling games lately. Some of those were without Zion, but
yeah. I think he's in a great game environment. So I'm not going to say no.
Okay.
Not a priority. Not a priority over the next couple guys though.
What's the next couple guys for you?
I mean, Ant I think has a higher ceiling, and then Paul George. Look, even. You said it on the show last night. The minutes for Paul George are just outrageous.
Well, that's why I like Van Vliet. 41,
right.
and 40 minutes. PG's out here playing 40 a night right now.
40 a night, not deferring. Listen to him talk about it on the podcast that he was going to defer. He wanted to play a secondary role when they originally got Harden, and then he was like, nah, can't do it. So he's not anymore.
Yeah.
And then he's taken 22 and 26 shots in the last 2 games, and has really been, not just podcast P anymore. He's back to being Paul George. So shooting guard, small forward eligibility, $8,600. He's actually like the lowest projected Clipper in terms of ownership too, of like their rotational pieces, which I think is really interesting because he has the best eligibility of all of them, and probably the highest ceiling, at least from what we've seen. So I do find that interesting that George is seeing the least amount of ownership.
I think I mean, he's also the most expensive.
Most expensive.
So,
right.
Yeah, that's why people are getting there. And then after that, again, I kind of moved down. Like Jaylen Brown, tournament dart, short, Cade, not really for me. Levine, no. Jalen Green, maybe a minor interest there if Şengün was ruled out, just from a scoring standpoint.
Yep.
Jordan Poole, is almost out of Washington now at this point. Like at some point, they might even just throw him on the bench. Clay can't shoot. Hoarder, we don't know about. Duncan Robinson, again, I still don't mind going to Duncan Robinson. He did have 32 fantasy points in that game that went under 200 total. So if he's going to take the shots and make the shots, I don't mind paying the price for it. He's still giving you 5+ X in the last 4 games since he's been in that starting lineup.
Yeah, he's making shots. I'll flat out say it. He's making shots. And obviously I knew he can make shots, but I didn't know he was going to just continuously be this good. He's shooting 41% from 3, and that's
wasn't he like a 45% shooter a couple years ago?
A couple years ago,
gave him the money.
Yeah, and then they gave him all that money, and then he didn't even play. He
last
got
year,
all the money.
They just didn't play him last year.
So, and that's a good point, Cracker Jack. He is going to the basket more. And
he's played in this league way longer than I remember him playing in this league for. He shot 45% back in 2019. So.
Duncan Robinson out there. Isaiah Livers available to make season debut. I can't wait for Isaiah Livers to play.
Does he play over Knox now?
30 minutes. I mean, they literally just imputed Kevin Knox into 30 minutes a night. Like straight off the couch playing 30 minutes a night. So
well, I'm not playing Livers, so I don't
but that hurts Knox. That doesn't help Kevin Knox, Isaiah Livers.
Probably not.
Right? Because Isaiah Livers played a lot last year. He he was just like a rotational piece for now. That was Dwayne Casey's Pistons, and this is obviously Monty Williams. But I think right now Monty Williams will play anybody other than Jaden Ivey if he can, just to see.
Yeah. Well, Killian Hayes is actually probable to play today.
Yeah.
So.
I know. RIP the one game of Jaden Ivey.
The one game for Jaden Ivey. I know. Big sad. If Grimes gets ruled out and we see, quickly or DiVincenzo starting, like I don't mind going in that route again. Minnesota good defensively, but I always like quickly in tournaments just for the upside potential for him there. If you're playing blowout run, do you think Christian Braun gets any game flow love here?
I mean, he's seemingly playing anyway.
I mean, he popped him this game. Like I don't think we see 11 of 19 again.
No, I don't. You don't think 25, 9, and 3 is sustainable off the Denver bench?
I mean, I mentioned him, but again, everyone's just going to play Norm Powell. So, and Norm Powell's a good play. I wouldn't recommend like pivoting off Norm just to be different in tournaments when if Hoarder's in and you don't have Duarte value, like play Norm Powell. Totally fine.
If you can get consistent peripheral stats from Norm, he's a really good play. He's never been a guy who like does stuff to box score, but I feel like again, if they go small, he's just kind of has to do a little bit more. Like everybody for the Clippers has to. And he went 3 of 11 last game, and he went 23.25 fantasy points. Yeah, that's pretty good. And
he's a guy that like when he's on the floor, he kind of looks for his shot too. He's not a passive player. They get him with Russell Westbrook now in that second unit there, so an actual point guard kind of out there that can help set him up and run an offense. I do like Norm a bit. We talked Jayshawn Tate here, expecting him to probably play more in this realm of minutes here, 21, 24 in that range now that there's no Tari Eason. When he was doing that, I mean, 19, 19, 19, 19, 20, if you're going to get almost a fantasy point per minute out of the guy, and then add in the fact that maybe no Şengün, I mean, we saw them go super small at times in prior regimes there in Houston. I'm not saying that's what Ime Udoka is going to do, but if Landale can't play 40 minutes, they could go to a smaller lineup and Tate's out there with Jabari at the 5 or something. So I wrote him up prior to the Şengün news. Şengün news comes out. I think Tate's a viable play here tonight.
Yeah, to your point, a couple points that you made that were spot on. 0.9 fantasy points per minute without Tara Eason this year is really, really solid for a guy 4,100.
Mhm.
And I'll just add on something here. If Dylan Brooks is in foul trouble, he's just going to play more. Like, there's always the chance that Dylan Brooks is 2 fouls in the first 7 seconds of the game, and then Jayshawn Tate is always the guy checking in right after him. So, like, I'm not going to sit here and ever predict foul trouble, because Dylan Brooks last night had a really, really good game offensively and played 30 minutes and, kind of stayed out of foul trouble. So, like, it's hard to predict foul trouble, but he is somebody who gets in a lot of it.
This is someone worth watching too. If he ends up, he officially ruled out. Never mind.
He's officially ruled out. Yeah, officially ruled out.
Got to update my DraftKings here. They're lying to me. Showing the Q on my board. All right, let's move on over to small forward here. JT at 10-2. You talked about him on a podcast, like describing this game to a T. A Monday night in Charlotte on a back-to-back on League Pass. Like, he's got to show up for those people who show up to watch him.
Yep.
That's why Jason Tatum says he doesn't like taking games off. Like, he doesn't feel like he needs it. He's out there for the fans. You got to love that. Again, I don't feel like I get to him at 10-2. The wrong people are not out for the game for that to be. But we also saw him against Charlotte last year have 50 in 3 quarters. So anything is certainly possible in those scenarios.
I'm pretty sure that scenario did not, like, that was just Tatum, though. Like, Brown was out.
No White, there was no Smart. There was, like, no Brown.
And they won by 4.
He had 50. He had 50. What I love about Tatum, too, is that he knows about the scoring things. And they're like, oh, did you know you were going for 50? He's like, yeah, I knew I was going for 50.
Yeah.
Like, I talked to Lou. I think he talked to Lou Williams one time after a game where he only had, like, 48. And they're like, man, nobody remembers 48, but they remember 50. And he's like, that stuck with me. So if JT's ever cooking and he's within 50, he's going for 50.
He's looking up at the board like, all right, I'm probably coming out this next sub. I gotta take like 3 shots to get to my to 45.
Yeah. He's like, nobody remembers 48, but they all remember how many 50 games he got. So he's like, that stuck with me. He's like, all right, gotta love that. Guy knows his points. Again, we've talked about some of these plays here. I don't mind again playing Jimmy Butler. He had 25 actual. He just didn't give you the usual stat fillers that we're used to him getting at the level that we're used to him getting him at. So he fell short. If he gives you the 32, 4, and 5, like he did against Charlotte here, then you have 48 and you're paying it off. So I'm willing to go back to the well. $8,300 is too cheap for what the ceiling can be for Jimmy Butler here.
Yeah, good guy Jimmy Butler. I just want to point out he was in Wisconsin watching his G League affiliate last night. That's what he was doing during his spare time.
Yeah.
That's my only thoughts on Jimmy Butler tonight. That he's a good teammate.
Sure.
Where
else are we going in the mid-tier small forward? Got RJ, got Herb, who I wrote up in the playbook here today.
Yeah, Herbie.
Jay, Oscar Thompson. Anybody for you?
I don't hate Keldon with Devin Vassell out. Of course, Keldon, we talk about the peripheral stats being there pretty consistently, and then what does Keldon do? Nothing. Stinker. Scores, dude. The 2022 version of Keldon Johnson showed up why you would never pay like over 6,500 for him last year. But the 2 games prior, 16 rebounds and assists, 18 rebounds and assists, and like 50 bombs in back-to-back games. So, like,
probably hard to pull down boards when both Wemby and Collins had like similar rebounding games.
But. Yeah, but in that Sacramento game, Wemby doubled, and Zach Collins had a ceiling performance, and he still had 16. Like, what are we doing here? Yeah. Keldon, I guess, in tournaments, if that game's going to stay competitive, he obviously plays a factor. Hayward's kind of been he does play Boston. I don't know if he resents Boston at all, but
I just wonder what Bridges back the usage rate,
Yeah, I was long road to Bridges here. 5,700. He is not. It's not a secret that people are playing Miles Bridges. He is pretty popular tonight, John. If you look at our NBA DFS rostership,
I said that when he returned. You can't not play a guy because of what you feel about him off the court, because there are people that are playing him for what he can do on the court, and they'll win the money because of it. So, you got to put those biases aside or perceptions of a player aside and look strictly basketball. And from a strictly basketball standpoint, he is very good. So, and he has proven to be very good so far. He's giving you 6x 5x return, 6x return each slate he's played. Price is certainly moving up. It should be. He's more of like a near 7K player than he is under 6K play. So again, now is this the right spot for it? I mean, sometimes we overhype the defensive matchups that guys have. So if he comes off the bench and is running up against a Sam Hauser rotation, then sure, Bridges is going to thrive. If he's constantly playing against Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum tonight, then maybe he'll struggle a bit. But I don't mind him. Davion Mitchell. Oh, Donovan Mitchell. I thought it said Davion. I got to clean my glasses here. Donovan Mitchell's ruled out for tomorrow. So there's news there. And Karis LeVert's questionable. Getting some Cavs news here. Kind of wish that was Davion Mitchell news. Would have maybe helped us a little bit with the Kings.
Well, Keon Ellis is already out for the Kings.
Yeah.
So Davion just running the backup point.
Well, if Davion was out, I would be like, oh, Monk City tonight, right?
Yeah.
It probably would have put Duarte in play no matter what, regardless.
Sada, it was supposed to be Monk City last night, and he was dominant in 20 minutes because they don't play. They don't like playing Malik Monk more than 25 minutes a night.
There you go. I'm wondering why I didn't see my phone from there. My light wasn't on. Just turn my light on.
Oh, I saw the glow up right there.
Yeah. Now that and my glasses probably need to be cleaned off a little bit, but
come on, John. You always got to keep the little glasses cleaner near. I got the glasses cleaner
I
right
have
here.
this whole setup, but I don't. It's I don't know. I like Herb Jones tonight.
I like Herb Jones. Just in general, yeah. He's a great basketball player.
But he has a floor scoring night. He still gets you almost 30 fantasy points.
He's just really good. He's the only things that he runs into is he's going to guard De'Aaron Fox tonight. No question in my mind, he's going to guard De'Aaron Fox. That's just what's going to happen.
You think he's guarding De'Aaron Fox?
Oh yeah, yep.
You don't think Alvarado's going to guard De'Aaron Fox?
Well, Alvarado's going to play 15 minutes?
I don't know.
I think that they're gonna see a lot of De'Aaron Fox is gonna see a lot of matchups tonight.
Yes.
Herb Jones,
they'll switch.
I think
Herb would probably be more on Keegan Murray.
I'll say they're gonna open up with Herb on Fox. That's my guess. He's just that good. The only problem is Herb can, because he's aggressive, get into foul trouble at times. That's the only downside to Herb Jones, really.
He sells out for blocks and steals, which is one of the reasons I love him.
But he has, in every game this year, he has at least one block or steal, and every other game but one, he has at least 2 blocks and steals. So he's just a very
plays the minutes, takes the shots, and when the shots drop, he has 40 plus fantasy point upside. When the shots don't drop, it's 30, 25. I'm willing to give him because, again, this is a 1-point spread. Pelicans are at home, and it's a 230, 5-game total, something like that. So a lot of things for me feel like Herb Jones could be a pretty decent play tonight on your slate there, Davion Rivers. Yes, I admitted to saying Rivers, whatever.
He knew. He knew as soon as – hilarious that you went back and listened to it because you were like 7 people telling you that you said Rivers, and you're still like, no, I didn't.
Whatever. Sam Hauser. If he starts, I'm going back to the well. The man, he starts, everybody plays him. He goes for a floor game, then bounces right back off the bench, 22 and 26 fantasy points. Again, I project he's the one going in the starting lineup. When Derek White was out last time, they did the double bigs with Al Horford, but Al Horford time. So unless they plan on, again, going with a Lamar Stevens or No Shea Brissett or something like this tonight, I feel like Hauser slotting in at the 3, Jaylen Brown plays the 2, and that's their rotation to start the game tonight. So I am good with Sam Hauser tonight, again, just in whatever role he's playing.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find at least how the slate currently stands, a likely starter playing 30 minutes with a ability to make 5 threes.
It's not only that, he's also a starter, and at least in my opinion, that if this game blows out, he'd be the one to stay on the floor. Tatum and Brown would probably sit. I think Hauser just plays, right?
Probably. But even if this game did stay competitive, he played 35 minutes in the starting role.
No, right? I know. I agree with you. And I mean, again, he takes only 3s. So the upside of him hitting 4 threes, 5 threes, he takes 10 plus shots tonight. is definitely there. So I like Hauser at 46. Thoughts on Koulibaly? We haven't talked much about this Milwaukee-Washington game, and it's got a 247 total or something like that. So, I know we're getting to Giannis, but are we playing anybody else in this game, either side here?
What is there to really be like, man, I really love who? Because
if this game blows out, he's playing no matter what. But it seems like he's in their rotation anyways. So
he is.
There's that upside at least.
He just has. I do not disagree that he's going to play 30 minutes at this point. And this game is the value is weirdly chalky. Also because there's no value anywhere. People are playing Kispert and people are playing Denny. And
what's our Connaughton looking like here? Obviously Middleton's in, but there's still no Crowder, no Beauchamp. So
Connaughton is drawing 1%.
1%. Would you give Connaughton a look here? 31 and 35 minutes the last two games.
Yeah. The 31 minutes came with Middleton there.
Yeah.
So that's obviously a blowout. So obviously both really good signs for what's to come. If he's going to space the floor like that, then yes, because if he's going to make 3 threes, that just makes Giannis and Dame's job so much easier because
they were playing Beauchamp 25 minutes, weren't they? 20 minutes.
It's 20 minutes. Yeah, he gets 20, and they're starting. Well, they won't anymore, but they were giving Andre Jackson run. Andre Jackson's just not going to play tonight. Unless there's a blowout, he's just an afterthought. So Connaughton.
If you had to pick Koulibaly or Connaughton tonight.
That's tough. I would say I probably feel a little better about Koulibaly's ceiling.
Okay.
But Connaughton feels safer. I'll say I think Koulibaly's minutes are more secure based on what we've seen. I know Connaughton has played 30 in back-to-back, but Koulibaly's played 28 in 4 straight. I'll go Koulibaly for ceiling, Connaughton for floor. You're right. It's a 240 total with 246 total with
Milwaukee's one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA.
They are. They sure are.
So and again, I know we're not Jordan Poole guys, and we joked about him, but Damian Lillard's got a 119 defensive rating or something.
Yeah, he's terrible. He's terrible.
Corey wants to know, would playing at Livers be too risky if he's stacking stars and scrubs here? For me, yes, because I don't know what he's going to play. He could play 10 minutes. We don't know what Isaiah Livers' rotation is going to be.
Coach Monty Williams didn't specify the nature of Livers' minutes restriction, but it wouldn't. So he will face a minutes restriction. That is so probably no.
Yeah, no, I don't. There's it's a single digit floor with him he's not a high fantasy point per minute guy anyway. So feels a little bit worried for me. Who smashes under 5K tonight? We did list a few guys off that we do like. Norm Powell was one.
Hauser.
Alex Caruso I do like here as well as an under 5K play. Both of those guys are guard. Powell has a small forward eligibility. And then we just talked. We talked back Connaughton here at 44. We like Koulibaly at 46. We mentioned if Alperen Sengun gets ruled out. Now you won't know until 2 hours after every other game is played. But Jock Landale could start. Jayshawn Tate's under 5K. Podzinski's like $4,400, $4,500 as well for Golden State. And Kevin Huerter, if he gets ruled out, Chris Duarte started yesterday. He's going to play big minutes. It'd be super chalky at under 4K, Gabriel. So there's a good amount of guys under 5K that you could play. Smashing, I don't know if anybody has 10x upside per se of that group, but
Duarte only because he's 31. Only because he's 3100.
If he's actually starting here tonight. And obviously, we've seen Koulibaly give us 30 plus.
He gave us 40.
Yeah, he gave you 40. So,
that's why I was leaning him on the ceiling. I think he just has a slightly higher ceiling.
Sure. So again, I think those guys are all kind of in play here tonight. Any other small forwards for you?
Mm-mm. Nope.
You know, if he starts, Svi's the backup. Just throwing him out there.
I hope he's still going by me. That was a good throw, John. That was a great throw.
Just throwing it out there. Duarte's the same price.
You got a good arm, dude. Great, yeah, great.
So Duarte starts. Obviously, everybody in the world's playing Chris Duarte.
Right to him. I'm not fading that. I know it's not chasing. He's $3,100. He's going to start with De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis passing him the ball. Like that's, hello. Just plug and play.
Power forward. Giannis is 11K. He went for 75 against Dallas. Now, we wrote up this game. We talked about it. It was like a 4-point spread. It was a 245 game total. It hit the over on that. And the big four in that game all dominated. Kyrie dominated, Luka dominated, Lillard did, and Giannis had a ceiling game. Another 247 total here. Now the spread's 9. Washington's been terrible, but they are home at least. So Milwaukee's traveling. Giannis just gave you a 40, 15, and 7 game.
He did.
Do you go back to Giannis with the 247 total? Do you play Jokic in the lower total, same spread game? You like Sabonis in the 1-point spread, 235? What's your spend up here tonight, Grande?
Mine's Sabonis as it currently stands, but like if you can get to Jokic or get to Giannis, like go ahead. Like that's obviously Chris Duarte makes things easier if Kevin Huerter's ruled out. That would make everything easier. I bet you would get we have Nikola. Let's see what we have Nikola Jokic at right now. We have Jokic projected at 12%, and we have Giannis projected at 10%. Bet you both those guys are 2x what they are right now. If like we got the Duarte news, I would say if it currently stands, I'd have a hard time getting there because if Huerter plays, you lose that 3K play, and then who's your best value of the day? If everything just remains Norm, and that's still a guy coming off the bench with a 18 to 30 minute range of outcome, right? Like he's been in those ballparks. So, and you don't know about you can sit there and say, well, I could just play Landale. Well, you can, but what if Şengün was questionable earlier in the year and played? So what if Şengün plays again? Then you're kind of shit out of luck. So yeah, if you can comfortably build with Giannis and comfortably build with Jokic, by all means, do it. But it's how comfortable you are with playing Koulibaly and Connaughton and Corey Kispert, who's getting ownership, and Danilo Gallinari, who's getting ownership, and like the likes of those guys. If you're comfortable with those guys, then play Giannis or Jokic. I don't think either you or I would be like, don't play these guys because they have too high of ceilings.
Right.
They can go for 80. We don't want that.
That has a high ceiling. Wemby gave you 60.
Because
he's
19,
tall. 13, 4, and 8.
Was that a height joke?
Memphis.
That was a height joke. You're height shaming him.
What did I say?
You're height shaming him.
What did I say?
Speaking of a guy who has a high ceiling.
Oh.
You
definitely have to live in a building with high ceilings.
Sure.
Wemby's $8,800 though. He's been in this price range pretty much all season long, but we've gotten a couple of 60 games out of him here.
Yes.
We've been attacking in the front court for the Chargers. Jesus. The Clippers now for a while. I don't mind going back to Wembanyama here.
Yeah. I mean, he had a 60-point ceiling in a game. He shot 6 of 17. That's on his second leg of a back-to-back. He just has. I saw an article today that said why Victor Wembanyama is going to be the first guy to have a quadruple double in over 30 years. Like, yeah, that seems correct. Like he has 8 blocks and 13. I mean, since the third game of the year, he's had at least 8 rebounds, and 4 of his last 5, he scored 18 points. He has 4 games of 4. I'm saying the same thing I said on the podcast, but it's just all remains true. Like he just has as high a ceiling as most people on this slate, outside of like who? Giannis and Jokic, probably. Yeah. And who's to say he doesn't have that ceiling if he plays 35 minutes?
All right, Towns is right there. Obviously, we've gotten 350-plus fantasy point games out of Towns here, a little bit more consistent. Yep. 84 against the Knicks. Any interest?
Sure.
And I say interest, like someone that you would, if you're making 3 lineups, he's in 1 of 3. Does Towns make 1 of 3 for you?
Sure. I don't hate it. Like, if I can find the money to get to Wemby, I'd probably do that instead. But I don't dislike Towns. And also, the problem with Towns is Kawhi is now only power forward, and he's 300 cheaper in like the infinitely better spot.
Agreed. Jacob saying is Tate a 3.9K lock on FanDuel? I would plug him in. It's a good price tag for a guy that I think plays at the least 20 minutes, but as we've shown you, he's averaging about a fantasy point per minute this year without Tari Eason on the floor. Now you add that to FanDuel, where Tate does give you some defensive stat upside there. He could easily get you that 20 fantasy points there at 3.9. And then Sean wanted to know if Herb's going to be defending Fox. Does that make us like Fox less? Not for me. Again, I don't know how much Herb is truly going to be on him with the way the NBA switches a lot and plays the pick game, and Sabonis and Fox play a pick and roll game really, really well. So, I don't know if Herb's going to be shutting down Fox here tonight, but I think both of those guys are still fine. We're definitely in on Fox. And guys, if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. We appreciate you all tuning in. We'd also love it if you could just click that like button here on the stream. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, do that as well. Free to do, just helps us out a lot. Getting us that exposure here over on YouTube. We do a live show every day at 5 o'clock Eastern for the NBA. We do a preview show every morning. Comes out at 9 a.m. Eastern time as well. And then if you're in the fantasy football, basically 1 to 4 every day, we're doing a fantasy football show, various fantasy football shows on this channel. So we're never leaving you hanging here. We have a special Thanksgiving Day show as well this Thursday at 10 a.m. Myself and Howard Bender breaking down the Thanksgiving football slate. So a lot of things happening here on the Fantasy Line YouTube channel. So we do appreciate the support from all of you all tuning in each and every day for us here. I agree with you. If I could find the money to get Wemby from Towns, I'm good there. But if I can't make it fit, I'd rather play Towns. I'd rather play Towns over Leonard, I think, personally.
I mean, that's definitely contrarian. So I don't, and I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm just saying
we've just gotten more ceiling games out of Towns than Leonard this year. And I know the new lineup maybe changes that a little bit here, but you're getting more consistent 50-plus games of late where you've gotten 2 total and more 30 fantasy point games out of Leonard this year.
You are correct. I will just say, as you mentioned, it is obviously a different lineup with Westbrook going to the bench. And this is also a matchup where the Spurs are 4th in pace. So the Clippers are 20th. We get a massive pace-up spot for the Clippers. And then when you look at the Spurs defensively, only the Hornets are worse this year. So it's just a great spot overall. Like the Knicks are just a slow plotting team. I mean, the Knicks are actually dead last in pace this year. So we're not that the Timberwolves are fast. They're 19th, but it is a pace down spot. I'm not disagreeing that like Towns could go for 50 and Kawhi could play third fiddle to Harden and to George again. It wouldn't surprise me. But I also don't think Kawhi Leonard in any capacity in a matchup against the Spurs is $8,100. Like that's
he's been playing to that point.
He has.
Right? So like if we're talking about current form, guys who are playing above or below their current pricing, you're getting more upside value out of Towns at 84 than we've gotten out of Leonard at 81.
Sure. I cannot dispute that.
And that whole debate really just leads us to Porzingis, who's massively underpriced at $7,800.
Yep.
We should be in that same range as those guys at minimum.
Yep.
50, 45 the last 2 games. Now no Al Horford, no Derek White. As you mentioned, doesn't really impact the usage rates, but it does take away his direct backup. Do they want to play Luke Cornett the same minutes they do Al Horford? Probably not. Porzingis going up against Mark Williams here tonight. Coming off a 6 block game. I do like Porzingis a lot here at that price point.
And the stare down. Did you see the stare down at Zaire Williams last night after the block?
Yeah, I mean, poor Zaire. He's got to shoot over a guy with a 7'8" wingspan by the time he got that rebound. So
yeah, it's unfair. I mean, I am gonna just continue to repeat myself. If this game stays competitive, we've seen 45 plus basically every night out of Porzingis.
Yeah, agreed. Going down to the mid-tier range here, you have the Denver guys, Porter and Gordon. If you want to play them, you can. Again, that game itself, I feel feels a little touch and go at times. You have Keegan at 63. If you think Herb is more on Fox, does that not open things up for Keegan Murray here tonight?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not playing Fox because the Herb thing, you mentioned it, and we've talked about it a lot. I think individual matchups can be like tough sometimes to like predict. It's just the nature of the NBA. The Clippers are playing 5 small guys because they can switch on everybody, right? Like taking Zubats off the floor because they can that means they don't need to ever like on picks, they just switch. They don't need so they're at an advantage defensively. Maybe the Pelicans do the same, and you don't see Herb like often on Fox like that. I think Keegan's probably a little too expensive. I'd have slightly more there'd be slightly more appeal here if Kevin Huerter's out because the spacing that Keegan can provide, he obviously hasn't provided it this year much, shooting 28% from 3. But if Huerter's out, I wouldn't be opposed to getting to Keegan Murray.
Yeah, that's fine. Where are we going? Let's move our way down. Any value power forward for you here tonight?
Gabriel, we did speak on Miles Bridges already. We also like Miles Bridges quite a bit. Not the person, the DFS play. He's firmly in the rotation. There's probably room for him to play more if Brandon Miller doesn't go nuclear last game. There's no reason Miles Bridges probably doesn't play 35, 36.
I said he's locked into 30-plus minutes anyways. I think he's probably a closing rotation player for them too, long run here.
Yep.
And I've said it. He's a guy that should be closer to 7K than 6K, and he's under 6K right now. So keep plugging him in. Totally okay with that play here. Now, again, it's Boston, so you do have to worry a little bit about some of the early rotation matchups he's going to have. But the fact that he comes off the bench, I think, helps him out a little bit here. And as we've alluded to a lot, Charlotte, even in blowouts, they just play their starters. So while Boston may eventually sit Tatum or Brown or Holiday or whomever, if this game ends up being that 20-point, 10-point blowout or something like that, Charlotte doesn't. So we do like Bridges here tonight for sure. Bobby Portis, again, I know the price is coming down. I don't mind throwing him out there. That game total is just too ridiculous. For a guy that has a ceiling that can pop off. So 6,200, I don't mind going there. RJ, any interest in 62?
No. Knicks are, unless we got some news, like the Grimes news, I would say obviously matters like a little bit because the DiVincenzo value opens up, the Quickly value opens up a little bit, but not much thought here for me on RJ.
Do you build a lineup with Jabari and then just hope that Şengün doesn't play?
So I think your best bet is to probably, because we like Tate as a value. That was pre-Şengün news. Like you said it. You're like, I wrote Tate up prior to Şengün because the news, not only we already know Amen Thompson's out, and now we know that Tari Eason's out. Those are 2 guys that were playing 20 minutes for them off the bench. I would say your best bet is to play Tate and one of Van Vliet or Şengün, and then you could pivot however you want to pivot. But it is nice to see Jabari back to play 30 minutes, and it seems like no Tari Eason, he's probably gonna be penciled in for another 30 minutes, right? That just
what happened to this guy? Where did this guy go?
I know the beginning of the season was so good for him, and then just it wasn't.
Everybody else started taking over basically.
Yeah, well, then they were like, you know what? We should probably do this Şengün and Van Vliet thing more. And then they won, They won 6 games in a row, and they were like, wow, let's just do this every game, right? And then Jabari's like, hey, guys.
Yeah.
I was the second pick overall last year. Right. Remember that?
Well, that's Houston. They keep signing all these guys, right? And you're just like, you're wasting talent. Jalen Green's out here. Jabari Smith's out here, and they're not able to get the type of play you'd expect them to get with some of these veterans moving in. How are you approaching Golden State's front court?
Like it doesn't exist.
Okay. No Kuminga, no Saric, no Wiggins.
I mean, dude, what do you... Wiggins had a great game. Shout out Andrew Wiggins for the great game.
0 rebounds from that great game.
Hit the 3, became the second Splash Brother, 0 rebounds. Well, that's also because Kevon Looney was just vacuuming up everything. But Saric, out of the rotation, not out of the rotation, but clear backup to and now Kuminga's $5,400. If Kuminga was $4,500, I would consider playing him but how do we
back to the Kevin Knox? Well, he finally missed all of his shots.
Well, I mean, Livers. I think that's going to hurt. I think Detroit's just hard to get to here, John.
You play Connaughton over Knox?
I would play Connaughton over Knox, especially if we get. So I'm actually updating ownership right now. If we get Kevin Knox like with higher ownership than what it should be, then I am completely okay with just living and dying by Kevin Knox beating me.
Yeah, that's fine. Anybody else down here for value?
I don't. So I guess here's a question. I was thinking about the Pelicans rotation earlier. No Matt Ryan. Do we think Najee Marshall gets extended at all?
He played 24 minutes. He could.
That was no Zion. I just wonder if they would go like with Najee, because we've seen Najee play the 3. He's not.
Yeah,
I know he's listed a power forward, but he can play the 3. Ingram can play 1 through 4, right? So it's like
they don't really have like another wing. They'd have to go double small. I mean, they don't. They could push Ingram up to that when they play their smaller lineups, I guess. But like,
I was just trying to think of like what the Pelicans would do.
I think Najee's probably fine. I'm okay with doing that.
I don't love the price, but I also don't think there's really anything else. Would you Danilo Gallinari? I'm gonna see what he's at this latest.
Yeah, he's another guy who plays 20 minutes that can score, and he gives you 20 fantasy points. So
you would consider it?
If I was building 20 lineups, he'd probably make one. Well, you gotta get exposure to the 240 game.
No, I know. I'd probably have like.
He does a little bit more than Kispert, right? So, like, Kispert might score a little bit better now, but Gallinari gives you more fantasy. So,
Kispert might make what will play more, but Gallo's definitely a higher fantasy point per minute output guy.
Yeah. Mark wants to know he's late. Is there a min-price 3-ball chucker? We talked Duarte. If Kevin Huerter is ruled out, that would be your guy. Otherwise, we like Norm Powell at 41 for value guy, but there really isn't many guys under 4K tonight that are in play unless we get some injury news here. So
under 4 I don't think there's.
Gallinari, right? Like $3,900 here.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's no Peyton Pritchard on tonight's slate other than Peyton Pritchard, but this is not. I don't think a Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah. Slate. Not really popping anywhere. What's NEW doing these days?
Backup stuff.
Okay.
Right. We love
Ish, dude. Didn't Ish play some minutes the other day?
Yeah, he hit like a buzzer. He's playing like he's like the backup. He's just now like playing.
Would you consider Ish Smith as just a pure punt play tonight?
There's not a lot. I mean, there's not like.
Terry Rozier goes down. He plays 17, 19, 23, and 17 minutes.
And he hit a buzzer beater the other day.
Yeah.
Not to win a game, obviously, because they don't win a lot of games. He's fine.
Yeah, maybe this is a LaMelo Ball foul game, who knows? Never know.
Maybe.
LaMelo Ball used to be handsy. You got the Celtics now. It could be a game LaMelo Ball gets in a foul trouble.
Used to be. That was literally the beginning of the year.
Time is a flat circle. All right, let's go to center. Joker's 12-8. We talk about it a lot. If you figure a way to get him in your lineup, do it. Blow it aside here against Cleveland. He still gave you 45 fantasy points in 28 minutes, and then you get a game where it's competitive. He gave you 80. A game that's competitive, he gave you 84. So you know what the upside is. Smoke him if you got him. You mentioned Sabonis here.
He's fantastic.
10K. 58, 57, 67, 53, 60.
Dude, he is. Like, obviously, I'm not saying he does not have the ceiling Jokic has, because what if in that LA game he has 3 more assists, right? Then it's Jokic. He has 80 fantasy points. Yep. But, like, he has $3,000 less than Nikola Jokic, essentially, on the slate. And he's in a better matchup. And him and De'Aaron Fox are doing literally everything for this team. So, I don't know. Just throwing it out there. The only concern with Sabonis that I have today would be foul trouble against Valanciunas. That's literally it. But even then, I don't think it's something I'm like overly concerned.
I agree. Other centers for you. Now we liked Şengün, but obviously now he's questionable to play. Zach Collins, $6,800. I don't mind going there after some of the strong performances we've seen out of him. There wasn't a lot else I liked though at center. Like, where are you finding your rosters builds go? You mentioned you were playing Şengün, so
Yep.
Is that it? Was there a value center that you had interest in here?
I mean, Jock Landale is obviously the guy if he is starting. And if you're playing Şengün, that's an easy pivot if you have Jason Tate or if you have multiple pieces of that late game. Like if you're playing Podziemski, right, who's a decent value and one that's getting ownership, this is like the easiest pivot in the world. You go from Landale down and you go up from like Podziemski to Van Vliet. That's like basically what everyone's going to do, right? That is like if you're playing Rockets and the late game, the pivot is Şengün to Landale, Podziemski, Van Vliet, call it a day. You and 40% of the field will enjoy exactly what everyone else just did. So I like Şengün. Landale is probably the only value. I think if you did want to like just talk guys like that actually could matter, Kevon Looney is someone who's been pretty good. I mean, give the guy minutes and no, Ed Jokic is not out. He is playing. We liked him. You could play him for sure. He has an 80-point ceiling, but it's about comfortability with the rest of your construction based on tonight's value as it currently stands to get to Jokic. Mm-hmm. I do think Kevon Looney at 55 could be somewhat interesting. Late night exposure, possibly no Şengün. Now he's battling against Jabari Smith and Jock Landale, and he's going to get all the rebounds. I mean, 12, 11, 16 in 3 games. Those are all 3 games that Draymond has either he's fought in or been out for. So double-digit rebound upside at 5,500 for Looney, probably double-double upside. We saw it 2 games ago. And then Gafford, 5,300. If we get the 28-minute Gafford, I think there's legit double-double upside with like 3-4 blocks in the cards. But will we get that Gafford? Find out next time on who is Washington going to play tonight, because it's really hard to tell who Washington's going to play on a night-to-night basis.
Yep, I agree with you there. That's all I got, really. I don't really got much else here.
I mean, I don't think there's, obligatory Andre Drummond can go for 30 fantasy points in 12 minutes if you want to go there, but I don't think you need to go there.
Yeah. We'll see if we're getting any other more updates here. Nothing yet. Nothing of importance. Do you want to build a lineup, or do you want to go over some of the roster shit that we got here, James?
We could do, let's just want to quick build the lineup, and then we'll just talk ownership.
Let's build the lineup. Where are we going to begin today here? Fox still?
Yeah. Let's go swiper.
Okay. Fox. I guess we got to, I mean, again, for now, we don't know the news, so I'm just going to plug in some of the values that we know we like here today. Go
Normie.
Powell and Caruso.
Yeah.
And then Tate, I guess.
Probably, yep.
And then do we fit Joker in here? 5K a play? Or you like Sabonis, double up the Pelicans game?
Yeah, I'd be okay with going that route.
Okay. 6K for a power forward, and utility.
Do you want to play? What does Van Vliet at util look like?
We can play Tate at forward. We can just do.
True.
Tate. Van Vliet. 52.
Because you can also play Podziemski for value, and then Miles Bridges a power forward. I love when a plan comes together.
Bridges, 47 util.
I think he's 45.
What?
Podziemski, 45.
44.
44. I love it when a plan comes together.
Sure. Good little sample lineup there for everybody. Getting some core guys in the playbook here tonight. Is Jokic out? No, he's not out, man. He's in.
He exists in the world for sure.
Yep. Can 100% play him. 1,000% play him.
1,000%.
Again, it's all about whether or not you can afford him.
Yep.
If you can afford him, you can definitely play him here tonight. Just an example lineup that we have out here for everybody. Again, if you want to find the money to go play the Joker, you certainly can. Probably got to move off that. 5K. Move Podziemski to the guard spot here. 5K util. Get you
Nothing like a good Bilal Koulibaly to end your lineup.
That's a way to get Joker in there, right? You get Koulibaly. So
and you just switch. You just play Jay Sean at your util for when
they get ruled out.
If Şengün's ruled out.
Yep. So again, it can certainly make it work. Again, Giannis has center eligibility. Even if you wanted to get a little different, we can have a grand old time stacking that game.
Jordan Poole, no.
Grand old time just stacking the game there. So
you say that my dad jokes. You say my dad jokes just got people to leave. You clicking Jordan Poole's name just got people to leave.
247 game total against the worst defense in the NBA. It has to come through today, right?
Yeah, I think he's been in a 240 game total every game, and
that's probably true. All right, let's take a look at some rostership here tonight, James.
Okay. Yeah, let's go over it. So head over to fantasyalarm.com/NBA/projections. Or I'm clicking the wrong link. Fantasy Alarm, I'll put the link in the Discord. It is an interesting, and this just goes to show you, John, it's an interesting slate that doesn't have value existing in the world. Because we're looking at DraftKings here. Corey Kispert at 30%. Let's do a little good chalk, bad chalk. What do you think? Corey Kispert, 30%. Good chalk, bad chalk.
Not my favorite chalk.
Normie, 35. I think both you and I agree.
Yeah, we like Norman Powell here. If Mark's still watching, I guess Kispert's your under 4K 3-man. So
yeah, probably Kispert. That is literally what he does, right? It's like good eligibility, and obviously waiting in the wings. Kind of the Kispert ownership will go from 29.5 to 0.5 if Chris Duarte is playing.
Talk about a lot of guys that do the same thing: Kispert, Hauser, Podzinski, all kind of like just chilling up there.
Anything like interesting? Mark Williams getting 17% against Boston. I kind of find a little interesting. I think that's probably product of center being kind of bad. Like think about Jokic is not being rostered.
Well, you said nobody's really playing Joker or Giannis on this slate, at least for now, because of the value that's not there. So
right next to each other. Jokic 12%, Giannis 11%. Koulibaly's gotten a nice bump here. He was like 4% in our first run. He's 13% now. There's Danilo, 14%. John, Peyton Pritchard, 14%. Thoughts? Would you go Peyton Pritchard here?
Well, no Derek White, so there's more rotational spot for Peyton Pritchard here tonight. I mean, sure, he's always someone that we know can make baskets, but he's been pretty inconsistent at least.
Such a low floor.
If it's not Isaiah Thomas's summer league, he's not scoring 60, right? So
anything else like stand out to you? And this was updated 10 minutes ago. We probably get one more update, especially if we get any more news. Anyone that you like looking at, like you're like, oh, this guy is low owned today. Wemby, less than 7% owned is kind of, I mean,
yeah.
Not that that's not Domantas Sabonis.
I mean, Fox is low roster too, right? Like,
where's De'Aaron? De'Aaron Fox at 6% here, John.
That's what I'm saying. People can't afford all these guys, right? Who's the number one spend up? What's the price spend up on that?
Number one spend
top price spend up guy is who?
Paul George, 14%.
So it feels like a lot of people are plugging in value, and then the top end 8K guys are sort of evenly spread about, right? If 10 and 12% are playing Giannis or Joker, they're probably not playing Fox or Sabonis because they can't,
Denver guys coming in pretty highly owned other than Jokic, Porter and Gordon. Just something to look at.
I mean, you get 20% on Van Vliet there, so.
What do you think that ends up if Şengün's ruled out?
I don't think it's going to move because people aren't going to be able to pivot. The game's too late. Yeah. I think you're plugging in Van Vliet, and then that's what you're doing with it. I don't think anybody's like going to be able to move off of. Yeah, I like Tate at 4.8%. I don't think anybody's going to be able to move off to Van Vliet because that game's 2 hours down the road. You're going to be plugging in Curry, and then and Şengün, and then what? Go down to Van Vliet and then go up. I don't know. Like, how do you do that? So,
well, if Şengün's rolled out, I mean, that's why I like the idea of playing Şengün tonight because one, he's
Yeah, if he's in, you're great. If he's out, you play Van Vliet, right? So
yeah, and if you have Jayshawn Tate, you could play Jock and you could play Van Vliet. So you have the combo of both those guys. That's why I kind of like
Cracker's saying it's pretty hard to fit Jokic without min salary. We haven't had that. I'll give DraftKings and FanDuel a lot of credit this year. In years past, we were usually just sitting here complaining about the fact that they haven't touched salaries or guys are mispriced or at the wrong positions. And they've been on top of it early on this year where they haven't let a guy just sit at some ridiculous price point for more than like a slate. You know, for the most part, these guys are getting dressed up. Now, like I said, if we get news that Kevin Huerter gets ruled out by 7:30 or 7 o'clock, and all of a sudden Duarte's in everybody's lineup at $3,100, you'll see a lot more people playing Nikola Jokic here tonight because there's only a couple of games there that people are probably going to have rostership based on what we're looking at. So if we get that news ahead of time for Denver, you'll see a lot of people pivoting, I think, to get Joker in their lineup. But if not, you know, you're plugging in Duarte, and now you're probably getting the Sabonis more than you were doing.
Okay.
You know, so be interesting to see where that is. But you're saying that, I mean, the chalk center right now is still Şengün, and he's not out yet. So people could certainly be just waiting for that news to break. So.
Yep, and I think the Şengün news, because this is updated as of 15 minutes ago. Just seeing Van Vliet and Şengün that highly rostered tells me, one, they obviously have a pretty good spot against Golden State, who's struggling. But two, it's like, well, I can just put those guys in my util and I can pivot if I need to pivot based on Şengün's status being in or out. So
agreed.
Yeah, that's a good little look. I think maybe a couple times a week, maybe it's something we can,
sure.
You know, we don't want to give away all the juice here, but you can go to fantasyalarm.com and with your you know, your L Pro subscription, you can get access to
scan right down the scrolls at the bottom. Go to fantasyalarm.com/win. Annual sub is 40% off the month-to-month price. So you're going to get the full year for less than $25 a month, where a monthly price, I think, is like $35, $36, something like that. So saving a good deal there, you know, on the annual subscription package. So check it out. All the good stuff there. James and I, again, will be back with our preview show tomorrow morning, and we'll be back live here tomorrow. Then a big Wednesday slate, no games on Thursday. I think we have some day basketball on Friday. So
yep.
We'll be doing all that content for all of you there. Get us in the Discord if you haven't already. Follow us on Twitter. Final comment of the day there. Good luck to you as well, Cracker. We'll talk to you in the Discord in a moment. For now, James and I will catch everybody tomorrow. See ya.